Namaste. We're on chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita. And in the 9th stanza, Krishna says, "One, O Arjuna, who by intuition comprehends the truth of my divine manifestations and selfless deeds in this vibratory universe, will never again, after he leaves his body at death, need to reincarnate in outward or egoic form again. Soaring in freedom, he will attain me." Now the thing is that this cuts the ground out from any effort to understand everything by reason. Science has done wonderful things, but it always tries to go by reason, and it can never understand the truth of it. When I mentioned, for example, a few days ago, that Jesus Christ said, "Suffer little children to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven," or of God. Well, how can the creator of this vast, complex universe be like a child? And yet he is. So we have to understand that it's intuition. He doesn't put things together the way you would do it if you were trying to create it. He becomes the universe. He is the center everywhere, circumference nowhere. At every point of creation, he moves outward. And so we have the trees with their rings gradually going bigger. We have the sperm and ovum create an animal body. All these things are from the inside out. And to understand it intuitively is really a large part of the spiritual path. Because we are accustomed to thinking things through and reasoning them out, we think that's the only way. But in fact, when you really exercise your intuition, you have to go from your center to the center of any particular phenomenon you are investigating. God became the universe. He manifested it. He didn't create it the way a carpenter does, who goes out and buys a table and hammers it together and planes it and so on. No. God became us. That means he also became you and me. And that reality is something that we can never understand except intuitively. This is why the masters in the Bhagavad Gita keep stressing the importance of developing your intuition. How can you develop it? Well, intuition is feeling, chitta. And when the waves of chitta or the whirlpools of chitta are agitated, you can't see anything. You can't see clearly because it's like waves on the ocean. If you want to see the ocean as it is, you have to, from an airplane flying at, let's say, 40,000 feet. You don't see the waves, you see flatness. And this is how we have to learn to look at life from a certain distance, not involving ourselves. Now, to reach that state, you have to overcome desires, you have to overcome attachment, you have to overcome the thought of you as an individual relating to all of this. And the interesting thing is that the more your mind becomes calm, and above all your heart becomes calm, the more you suddenly understand things. I remember a beautiful samadhi that my guru had in 1948, just a month before I met him. And he said that it was a very strange kind of samadhi because the Divine Mother used his voice so that he would speak in his voice, and then suddenly she was using his voice, and you heard this heavenly woman's voice speaking through it. And she took him all over the universe. You know, in the cosmic vision in the 11th chapter of the Gita, Krishna at the end says, no one else has ever had this vision. So God told Yogananda, no one else has had this vision. It's a particular blessing, especially for him. Now, no one else on any planet, any galaxy, I don't know, beyond me. But I can say that, although I was not there, people have told me that he was laughing and saying, "Oh, now I see how you do it all." Imagine, he should have known, he did know. But somehow it was so special how God created everything. And it seems like it must have been extraordinarily complex, but it wasn't. And the interesting thing is that once you get into your inner zero, your most central core of being, when you shed all self-definitions and you realize this is who you are, this one still consciousness, then suddenly you see, oh, he did this, he did that, he went in all these different directions, but it's so simple. And so the way Master was talking, and then Divine Mother would laugh through him, it was an extraordinary experience. I wish I had been there, but in fact I came just after that. He had this vision at the end of July, I believe, in 1948. I came to him September 12th. And during that vision, the Divine Mother said, I sent you many lemons, many bad ones in the beginning, to test your love for me. But now I am sending you angels, and whoever smites them, I will smite. And so I've always felt blessed to come after that for that reason. But nonetheless, that relationship that he had with the Divine Mother was so sweet. In the meditation at Christmas, I remember the first Christmas, he was talking to her, she was talking to him, and in this case he was reporting what she said, not speaking through him. But then at the end he said, oh, don't go away, don't go away. And he said, you say that the material desires of these people are driving away, oh, come back. And he said, you are so beautiful. You know, when we see an image of Kali, or all the images that we know of, the murtis in India, they're not beautiful. They're symbolic. But when you see the Divine Mother, it just completely captivates your heart. No love could be so beautiful. No presence could be so beautiful. When Yogananda had that vision in the Mahamandal Hermitage in Benares, very interesting, because he was having a difficult time then, because these people didn't understand. You know, when you start seeking God really seriously, the world won't take it from you. Nobody likes to be told that he isn't as good as you are. And so anytime somebody tries to live a spiritual life, people get upset, they become offended. Like that monk in a cartoon that I saw turning to a fellow monk and saying, but I am holier than thou. Well, this is the truth, that people will persecute you. You will have much opposition. And people can't understand when you have no desires for anything, for self. They just assume everybody has desires. Therefore, if you won't tell what your desires are, if you won't come up front and say, yes, I want to make money, I want to become rich, I want to become famous and all those things, then there must be something very evil that you wouldn't even tell people what you're doing. And so the saints are always being misunderstood, and perhaps more than anything else by their own families. Jesus Christ said, a prophet is not without honor, save in his own home and his own country. And this is how the great masters are. Great as they are, the great things that they have to do for other people and to give other people, very few really appreciate what they are. Krishna is saying that we have to use intuition. How could I tell that my guru knew what he was talking about? It was intuition. I didn't know anything about gurus. I didn't know anything about Indian teachings. I'd never heard the word dharma, or guru for that matter, or karma, or any of those things. But when I read his book, I knew from intuition. I knew that he was my guru. I knew that he had what I want. I knew that he was a great saint. And when I met him, he never disappointed me. Always, he was far beyond the greatest image I could hold of a human being. It used to just amaze me. Because in another way, he was so human. But you know the saying, I'm only human, that's not the right expression. What you should say is, I am not yet human. Because to be truly human means to reach the goal of humanity, which is to become perfect. And so if you say, I'm only human, you're not understanding. When you know God, you become completely human. And this is what Yogananda was. He was so beautifully human, but there was no pride, no jealousy, no ego. I would look into his eyes and I would see just space. There was nothing there. And I saw that he had no likes and dislikes. He was just, I was just absolutely in awe of him. I have to say, when I met Ananda Ma, I spent a lot of time with her, and I didn't have that awe of her. She was more like my mother, and I loved her very much. I remember one time in Kankal, outside Haridwar, that I was saying goodbye to her, and I had to take the train to go back to Delhi, and I couldn't leave her presence. I remember that she said, "Now you have to go to your train." And I said, "Ma, I can't leave this spot as long as you're standing there." And then she understood, and she went inside, and I ran like anything. And I suspect very much that she held the train, because the moment I got onto the train began moving. But the reality that she was just like my mother. My guru, I always held him in a certain awe. Maybe it was because I was so young. I came to him when I was 22. He left his body when I was 25, I think. And so it was almost awe-inspiring to see that greatness, to look into his eyes and see that there was no likes or dislikes, no ego, no anything. But you felt, apart from that space and the egolessness of it, nonetheless you knew that he was your friend. He would always be with you. When he gave me his unconditional love, I'm still staggered at what that means. To have a guru, to have a God-realized guru, as Shankaracharya said, is the greatest blessing that can be yours. A guru, a normal person, lifts you up, but he never makes you equal to himself. A guru's only purpose is to make you, not to keep you under his tutelage, but to make you a guru like him. Your duty in this life is to become God. And because everything that we know in this world is personal in a sense, so God has to come to us in that personal form. Can God give you himself just like that because you love him? Well, I would like to think so, but all the teachings that I know tell me it just doesn't happen that way. We are human beings. We understand human consciousness. God has to take that form in order to bring us out of that form into the infinite. So the purpose of the guru is not to teach you. He's not there to, yes, of course it's to teach you, but it's not to speak condescendingly. What he does is realize and help you to realize that you are that. And so that touch of the guru is absolutely essential. I know many people have actually said to me, "Do I need a guru?" I say, not at all. I see that they're not ready for it, but I say too that once you realize that what you want is God, then you do need a guru. Because you can never get out of this ego. Most teachers that you met, they teach from ego, and they try to tell you what they think and they are and everything. No, but when you really want God, then you need help. There are too many delusions to work through. How do you overcome them all? I don't mean just simple delusions, but very complex and difficult ones where your reason will give you all the reasons in the world why you should go one way, and it may just be wrong. The guru will tell you things. Sometimes my guru told me things that seemed to me, for my own spiritual development, wrong. But I had the faith in him to do it anyway. And I have found that it was the only thing that would have worked. So the greatest blessing in the three worlds is to have a living guru. Now when that guru finally touches you, I know when my guru, when I met him, and he had me take my vows and offer my life to God and say that I was only his and so on. Then he put his hand over my heart, and for a full 2 minutes, I think it was vibrating like that. Tremendous power was coming out. And from that moment, I was a changed person. I can't explain it, but somehow many things had been just dropped from me. I didn't have the feeling that I wanted this or wanted that, things that I felt I had to struggle to overcome and to develop, I just didn't want them anymore. And from that first moment, I have to say this is the greatest miracle I ever saw him perform. And yet it was so subjective that I can't explain it properly to people. But from that day on, I felt this, somehow he implanted in me the devotion to God. And I had to work to develop that consciously. One thing I used to do is sing that song of Ram Prasad, Amondin ki hope matara, jope tara tara, tara bole do no yone, be porbe dhara, chanting your name, Mother, Mother, Mother. My eyes will flow with tears. And when you really reach that point, you know those tears are holy tears. They wash away all impurity in you, and you know that all that you want is just He. So this is one of the wonderful things. Master used to say, chanting is half the battle. And I used to chant with full fervor, and I would repeat that line again and again and again, and from that chant. And will that day come to me, Mother, when saying your name, my eyes will flow with tears. Well, these are the things I want to share with you, because an intellectual discussion will not give you God. You must understand these things intuitively. But the more you do feel God's presence, the more you will know this is what it's all about. I love Him, and I don't need any reason for loving Him, because He is mine, she is mine. Joy to you.